impact it will have for joining us. I mean, well, the jury may still be out there, but when you look at it, how has our environment been impacted by coronavirus since the first case of the pandemic was reported here in Kenya in March?
Thank you, Brian. I wish to first say that I think the world has experienced many challenges, even going through depression or recessions of the economies, but none has been seen more devastating than the coronavirus impact, because this has caused a total shutdown in the world, where unlike in previous recessions where we could not fly, one could still fly between one country and another. This meant that we could not fly, and so mobility became a problem, and therefore it meant economic activities were really slowed down. So in many ways, I would say that the impact of coronavirus has been huge to the economy, and I think from an environmental perspective, one will see a balance of two. There have been positive impacts of coronavirus pandemic, and there have been negative effects. I think first on the negative effect is about the fact that we have seen our economies shutting down. We've seen even curfews being imposed, people not being able to move around, businesses are not functioning, schools are not functioning, and so people are at home, and it becomes very difficult because people don't have income. And some have been laid down because the companies have shut down, and so the unemployment rate has gone up. So to a large extent, that has been a challenge. And we have also seen huge pressure on our hospitals and the capacity of the Ministry of Health to be able to deal with the pandemic. And I think a lot has been done by government to respond to that situation, but I would say that even the challenge now that has come also as a result of managing waste that come from dealing with COVID-19, because we have masks, which are now a requirement that every Kenyan must put on a mask. We have also protective devices. We have detergents and others, where a lot of containers are being generated. So every day, if all the 47 million Kenyans are putting on a mask, it means we'll be generating that 47 million masks every day. Of course, not many Kenyans, not all Kenyans are able to put on masks, so we estimate around 25 million of us are putting masks. And majority of them are single use, like this, where you put on a single day, and by the end of the day you go and you're supposed to discuss. But this is an infectious waste, because if you have coronavirus and you don't safely dispose this, it becomes a hazard, a health hazard to others. So I will come back to later on how we have responded to managing this. But I'm answering your question on the impact of coronavirus to Kenya and to the world. I also want to say again that there is a positive impact of coronavirus to the world, at least from an environmental perspective. We've seen, because of that lockdown, which is negative because industries are not functioning, we've seen reduction in air pollution and a lot of waste that is generated every day. So our rivers have not been as polluted as they've been before. Our air has not been as polluted as been before. So we've seen nature flourish, especially birds, trees, and other life, other biodiversity. He's beginning, in a way, enjoyed this. Even fish in the lake, and especially most of the places that used to suffer from huge pollution. Of course, it is only because industries have shut down, so there's not a lot of waste is being generated. Of course, the only waste now the world is grappling with a lot is the waste relating to managing COVID. Yes, so I think it's a balance. One has to look at it from different perspectives. But from an environment perspective, one hopes that if there was a way to balance, and this is why we're talking about sustainable development, that even when we do our industries are performing, we are still able to make sure we manage waste in a way that we have seen now, that we don't see air pollution because when industries are roaring, a lot of air is being put in the atmosphere. I think the lesson we learned from this is that even as we open up the economies,
Yeah.
we still need to see a lot of investments in ensuring that the quality of air that is emitted
Yeah.
is controlled.
And the most unfortunate thing, and I mean, you are enumerating, one of the positive sides that Corona, has managed to bring, is that somehow the air is a bit cleaner. The ozone layer is, somehow breathing a fresh, air in. And all these, the most unfortunate thing is that this is just a temporary reprieve. As countries emerge from lockdowns, as people start now to travel, as airspaces are now being opened, we will go back to where we are. And so the question is, what are we doing as a country, post coronavirus to ensure that some sense of clean air, some sense of proper management of our environment, is instituted?
Yes, I think this is, your question is important, because I think we need to ask ourselves that the fact that, of course, the environment seems to be in a way benefiting from this COVID-19, in the sense that we don't see more pollution of the air and more waste being generated. But it's a temporary situation. When the economy picks up, industries begin to produce, and therefore we see more. We go back to where we were, where we see a lot of pollution and waste being generated to the environment. What is important is to be proactive and be able to learn from. We learn from the situation now and make sure that even as we open up, we now are able to deal with the situation. For instance, in our case, Kenya, we have, as a ministry, developed a policy called waste management policy. And this waste management policy has now gone to cabinet, and it is calling for a paradigm shift in the way we have managed our waste. All along we have done what we call linear approach to waste management, where we don't segregate our waste from our homes, from the markets, from wherever we are. We put them in a truck, and we take them to Dandora. And when you go to Dandora, you see heaps of garbage, and it becomes a real challenge dealing with them. Now, the policy is saying we need to move away from that linear approach to what is called a circular approach. And circular approach means that we recognize the fact that a person's input, one person's output, or what we call waste, is input or a material for another person's production process. So what we are doing is that we want waste to be segregated at source. Mm-hmm. Meaning at home, you need to ensure that what is organic, you put in a safe, in another container, and then what is recyclable, you separate and put in a separate bin. And then even with what is recyclable, there are those which are also which have to be taken to what we call material recovery centers. But there are also those which cannot be recycled, which means they have to put in a separate bin. So we need about 3 bins, where we are saying organic waste, we take it to a material recovery center where that waste will derive value out of it, so that we don't go and throw it away. Mm-hmm. And we have a company, for instance, here in Nairobi called Synergy, that's already doing that, where it takes waste, takes through a process where 70% of that organic waste is eaten up by insects, and the balance is organic fertilizer, which then gets in to our farms. Even us in forests, we are able to use, and others for production.
And so the whole point is try and create a circular economy.
Yeah, circular economy, where we don't just throw waste, we manage it, and that is one. For recycle, we have a number of companies. If it is plastic or bottles and all that, we have companies that will then recycle. And so this circular model is good in that it will reduce the waste that is being generated in our country, and there is going to be value addition in that we are going to improve the economy, because there will be companies specializing in that circular, in making use of that waste, and in the process we create jobs.
Good.
And I think I just need to tell you that we have estimated that every day before coronavirus came, Kenyans generate 22,000 metric tons per day
of waste.
And here in Nairobi, 3,000. metric tons
metric
per
tons.
day. And out of that, 60% is about 60% is estimated to be organic. Around 30 to 35% is what is called recyclable, either plastics or bottles. About 5% cannot be recycled, so it has to be taken to a landfill where you have to safely dispose. And I think this will really, in a way, be a revolution in the way we do things. And we are learning this from best practice, where countries have, the countries, especially the West, that have been doing this, and we think this is achievable. All we need is to make sure we promote the private sector approach. And I think in order to jumpstart the process of this circular economy, we have come up with an action plan, waste management action plan for Nairobi County. So we are working with Nairobi County now to see how to implement the circular economy.
And one question that will come out of this is absolutely, I mean, this definitely means that, each house or in a community now will need more than one dustbin, for them to decide or to put this is recyclable waste, this is this kind of waste. And so will the government provide this kind of
no, the circular
equipment?
economy model we are approaching is really going to be private sector driven. Our role is to develop the policy environment, which we have now worked on, and ensure we have regulations in place. But we expect private sector. So those waste management companies will be the ones doing, even now, they are the ones doing a lot of collection. If you go to your estate, it's not government doing it. Of course, Nairobi County may be involved in taking that waste from wherever it is to Dandora. But we have a lot of waste management companies. So we expect that arrangements will be made that waste management companies will, if you join one, they will give you the number of bins that you require, or the bags that you require, and then they will pick it on a regular basis. That's why we are starting with Nairobi County, so that we see how we work through the NMS, Nairobi Metropolitan Services, to ensure that the waste management component is synchronized together with the companies that are in place. Like I've told you, Synergy, there's another one called Takataka Solutions, and there are many more others who are going to be registered to do this work. And so it works well when it's private sector driven. And we expect that in estates, the residents associations are going to play an active role in ensuring that the environment is clean, that the waste is collected, and therefore working through this model, we expect that this will really be good. Because I know even in my own home now, it is not the government that collects rubbish from that is generated from a house. It's a private company,
of
which
course,
we pay, and we pay. So we will still do it. We'll just require that. This now has to be a requirement that people segregate waste at source. That you don't remove waste from your house, which is still put together. You have to isolate what is waste, and it is easy. As you do your cooking, it's very easy to distinguish what is organic and what is not, and you just need to place it appropriately. And I think it is a responsibility we should all take it with a lot of honor, because I think all of us really want to see a clean environment. You see a lot of work at Dandora, where we have a lot of boys there who have to go and try to segregate, and it is a lot of work. Even companies those who are in waste management have to spend so much money to try and segregate the waste to see which one is good for this purpose and that purpose.
No, I mean, studies have been done, about the impact of coronavirus on communities that live in highly polluted environment, and it has been concluded that those communities are more susceptible to contracting coronavirus as people who enjoy more cleaner and less polluted environment. Have we managed to do this kind of a research here to find out whether there is a correlation between cleaner environment and coronavirus?
I think the scientists tell us, of course, that there is a correlation between that. That is why there is always need to ensure we observe social distance. So if we are in settlements where there's a lot of congestion, clearly there is a challenge of maintaining social distance. But I think as a ministry, we have seen that Kenyans have tried to take advantage of the situation now by going to green spaces that are available in Nairobi. And we've seen a huge influx of people going to Karura Forest. We see Nairobi Abarata. We have looked at the numbers, and the numbers have grown, tripling or even going in large numbers, because people want to go and get some freshness. And we have doubled up our efforts as a ministry. You've seen our president the other day leading us at Abaratam during the World Environment Day, and we are trying to make sure that we provide and modernize the place to be world class. At the Michuki Park, again, Michuki Park now is available, and we have even broken the wall now to separate, to make sure that we bring together Misham Hill together with the Michuki. So we have created a larger space, and this is public space for our, it's all available for anyone who wants to enjoy. Mm-hmm. And at the moment, we are not even charging any cost. We are in City Park again with the similar measures, trying to ensure we make the place much more habitable and good, fit for purpose for use by people. Karura is the same, and we are doing the same even in Gong Hills and around Ololua and the rest. And this is also happening across the rest of the country. We want to see more green spaces. This is why we are also emphasizing on the campaign on national tree planting, so that we plant more trees, because the trees are good for our lives. They act as carbon sinks. Mm-hmm. They bring freshness. They are the lungs of the planet.
What is the government doing to ensure that such green spaces are also rolled out outside Nairobi?
Actually, I can say we are on a mission to reclaim and to restore green spaces, because we have seen also that over the past there's been neglect in that. So we have rolled out this campaign, and it's not just in Nairobi, it's across the country. And we are doing this knowing very well that we require a lot of this. So even the new policy where we require that if you have a road, we also need to have motorized transport, so that within towns we don't just have roads for vehicles and people who have non-motorized. If you are in a bicycle or a motorbike, or even if you are taking a walk, you need to have your separate pathworks. And I think you've seen that no new infrastructure now is coming up that does not take into account the need for greenness. And therefore, any new roads being done are being done together with provision of areas for non-motorized transport. And we are also doing a lot of tree planting along that, so that along our highways, along any major roads, we are saying they must be green. And being green means they must be fit for purpose, for vehicles, for those who don't have vehicles. Even anyone, ordinary manager who is able to work, should be able to have the opportunity. And this, you can see a lot of progress has been made in the recent past. I can tell you that there's a lot of focus now, and His Excellency the President has been leading us on this, and you've seen that we are going to be seeing more of this. And this has been embraced by many counties.
We were discussing about, the waste management of COVID-related waste. What elaborate measures have we put in place to ensure that this is well handled, bearing in mind that some of this waste is highly hazardous?
Thank you. Immediately we had this challenge of COVID-19. We realized that the requirement that every Kenyan puts on a mask, and the fact that you have also to make sure that you wash your hand and sanitize your hand, means that there will be a lot of waste generated as a result of that. So because we are the ministry responsible for ensuring that waste is properly managed, through NEMA, the National Environmental Management Authority, we issued an advisory in April this year to the Ministry of Health on how waste generated from COVID-19 is going to be managed. And here it has to do, we had to use the ECMA, which is the Environmental Management and Coordination Act of 2009, and the regulations which were developed in 2006, which focus on waste management, specifically, especially on the biomedical waste. And we gave advisories on how to do that, so that we expect that once we generate waste like this has to be properly disposed in a pit, in a bin that is marked specifically as hazardous waste. That you don't just take it now to this finds itself to Dandora. This is dangerous. This has to be put properly, and we gave that advisory, and we have seen that advisory taken up by the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health itself also still gave other additional regulations, and we've seen hospitals doing the same. We have seen a lot of investments on incinerators, so that when this is generated, this has to be disposed properly.
What about the public?
The public, I think we also gave the same thing, because we said, how do you manage this? And it was all about management of this, segregating it, packaging, and how you safely dispose. But we actually went ahead even to say, where you are unable to do a lot of that, and our fear was we found cases of people collecting what has been used and then selling to
washing them and ironing
ironing them, and then going back to sell to customers who may not be aware that they have already been used. So we even said, and we have advised people to try and make sure it is not possible for anyone to use this. It's not impossible for any ordinary Kenyan. You have a pair of scissors, and you just make sure you make it impossible for it to be used. This is not anything scientific. It's just even a crude way of making sure you make it impossible for this to be recycled, because it's dangerous if this found itself being reused, especially if it is from a person who has COVID-19. But we want to thank Kenyans, because I think we have seen many homes, many Kenyans really being able to still handle this waste. A few cases, yes, we see it
but
all over.
If you walk around,
yeah.
This country, you're not going to see, waste bins, well labeled that this is for COVID waste and this is for banana peels. So it tells you that, everything is being handled the way we handle waste in this country, which is very unconventional.
It is unconventional, it's true, but I think this is not just about COVID-19 waste. It is about other waste, and I have told you that we have recognized that has been a problem in the way we have managed, and that is why we are saying, even at source, we try and segregate. So even where you have things like this, where you have waste for single use, out of protecting yourself for COVID-19, you need to safely manage that. And we have given regulations and advisory on how you safely manage that. Then from your house, it is put appropriately in the bin that is marked appropriately, and it is taken to a safe place where it is destroyed. Of course, we appreciate the fact that not many people will have this. And that's why we have said,
and of course, that's going to be a challenge.
It's a challenge we have to cope with.
How are we going to deal with it?
I think more is education and awareness. Like today, you have called me on this program, and I'm using this opportunity to tell Kenyans that this waste that we generate, we try and manage it, especially what we call hazardous waste. And it is possible that even though you don't have a separate bin, which is marked as hazardous, you can still make sure you safely wrap it well in what is not what cannot leak, what is called leak-proof. If you can have anything that you can mark it and then you safely dispose it, I think you will help a lot to make sure that we don't spread coronavirus. And I think our experts in that field have given the advice. The Ministry of Health have given advisories, and they are the ones who will tell us how to manage it. And I think those guidelines have been given. All we are doing is to make sure that Kenyans follow the guidelines. And I think to a large extent that is being complied. I haven't gone anywhere in Nairobi where you just get in without washing your hands. I hardly see people walking around without practicing social distance, even when you don't have a mask. But there is a lot of effort to practice social distance.
In the interest of time, what lessons have we learned in terms of, environmental management from coronavirus that we are going to uphold going into the future?
Going forward, even as we come out of the coronavirus situation, we are hoping that this policy, new policy on waste management, will be improved. Kenyans are going to embrace it, and that no waste shall be just taken to Dandora, that we will make an effort to segregate what is organic and we can derive value of it. We do it, and there are companies who will do it. What can be recycled, let the companies that recycle do it, and we generate jobs out of that. But more importantly, let's also now go for more green spaces, that we do not have all our land being put for infrastructure, for schools, for industries, and we don't have enough land for our forest.
Good.
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us, and thank you for sharing your insight with us.
Thank you very much, O'Brien.
Very good. You see, primatologist and anthropologist Jane Goodall said something very interesting sometimes in June, that the earth does not need us for its survival, and it will be there whether we walk on it or we do not. And so it is up to you and me to ensure that we manage our waste in a better way, to ensure that we walk on a cleaner world and we leave behind a cleaner earth tomorrow. You have been watching Inside Government. My name is O'Brien Kimani. We have been talking to the PS in charge of environment and forestry, Dr. Chris Kiptol. Thank you for your time. See you on Thursday, same time. Good night.
It's coming, and it's big. Believe me. Keep watching.
Trouble comes in different shapes and forms. But what's important is getting out there and off the beaten path. Learning about different cultures. Getting that adrenaline pumping while taking in nature's beauty.
Muchas gracias. Bene, bene. Beautiful.
This season, we're proud to show you our home, that being Kenya. All this and so much more, only on Zurura. Find your adventure. Coming soon to KBC.
Oh, my baby, replay. Playing my favorite tune. Oh, yeah, chance I'm ready, your love. Oh, ready, your love. Shaggy. Atana pasina sana yo. Baby, my honey.
Tunakupa burudani.
Na umbea, yani stories zinazo trend kwenye mitandao ya kijamii.
See baby, now we are two in one. We are two in one.
Interview kali za wasanii wapendao.
Mguu pande panda milima. Aoye izungushie hapo ma. Kama una
Ndani ya March of Life kupitia KBC Channel 1 na Pwani FM.
Kuanzia mida ya saa 3 mpaka mida ya 5 kamili asubuhi. Ukiwa nami ni Teken 1GB.
Mimi ni Marco. Keep it locked.
The greatest rally in the world is back in Kenya. Catch all the action of WRC Safari Rally live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1 from 24th to 27th June. See the world's best drivers navigate their machines on Kenya's rough terrain at breakneck speeds. Experience the thrills, adrenaline, drama and excitement as man and machine do battle. Don't miss out. WRC Safari Rally, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Wanda tuingie huko.